News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Ed Kalegi. President Trump's 10% baseline tariffs on U.S. trading partners around the world came into effect on Saturday as he plowed ahead with his strategy to encourage domestic investment by companies eager to avoid import taxes. While the baseline charge has kicked in, higher duties on some countries, which replace rather than add to the 10% rate, are due to start on April 9th. Countries are weighing how to respond to Trump's latest levies, which raised U.S. tariffs to their highest level in more than a century and battered the post-World War II world trading system as he has long decried as unfair. Elon Musk says he hopes for a zero-tariff system between the U.S. and Europe that would effectively create a free trade zone. We get more on this from Bloomberg's Denise Pellegrini.
Musk says ideally, Europe and the United States should move to a zero-tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. He told Italy's deputy prime minister that's what he hopes occurs. The CEO of Tesla and head of President Trump's DOGE cost-cutting efforts commented at a gathering of the right-wing League Party in Florence, where he also said he hoped for a deeper partnership between the U.S. and Europe and greater mobility for those wishing to work in either region. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Senate Republicans took a major step toward enacting President Trump's tax cut agenda and increasing the U.S. debt ceiling, potentially injecting a small degree of certainty into financial markets roiled by the president's tariff policies. The Senate early Saturday morning passed the budget resolution by a 51-48 margin after an overnight marathon of votes on amendments. Two Republican senators, Susan Collins of Maine and Rand Paul of Kentucky, joined all Democrats in opposing the budget resolution. The stock market is in free fall, but the chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Stephen Myron, indicated he's not worried.
Of course, there's going to be some market volatility on the back of the president's historic actions. Look, the tariffs are designed to redress trade deficits, but there is a nice side effect, which is they raise a lot of revenue. To provide further tax relief while deregulating the economy and making it easier to invest higher in America to create an economic boom.
Stephen Myron in a Bloomberg interview. Diane Swank, chief economist at KPMG, tells Bloomberg that they've adjusted their economic forecast call.
We have. In fact, we have now moved to a little bit worse than our worst case scenario, and that's because the tariffs now are likely, if they, even with some rollback and some negotiation, they could easily hit the highest level since the early 1900s. That, with more retaliation, would get us into a recession.
KPMG chief economist Diane Swank on Bloomberg Television. UK automaker Jaguar Land Rover is pausing shipments of its cars to the U.S. following the introduction of tariffs by Donald Trump's government. The company is putting these exports on hold this month as it looks at ways to address the new trading terms. The U.S. government introduced a 25% tariff on imported cars, which went into effect on Thursday. The Jaguar Land Rover move is the latest example of the global fallout from the policy, with other automakers also rethinking their business strategies. Elon Musk's DOGE government cost-cutting effort may be giving big tech companies a way to get even bigger in Washington. Bloomberg's Nathan Hager explains from Washington.
Amazon and Google may be using it to break Microsoft's long-running stranglehold on the government software business. DOGE has identified software as a potential source of waste in the federal government. Now, Bloomberg News has learned lobbyists for Amazon and Google are working through trade groups like NetChoice to make the case to Congress and federal agencies that they should get a piece of the IT contract pie. In Washington, I'm Nathan Hager, Bloomberg Radio.
Israeli troops deployed to a newly established security corridor across southern Gaza. The military announced this Saturday as pressure on the Hamas militant group increased weeks into the renewed war. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Wednesday announced the new Morag corridor and suggested it would cut off the southern city of Rafah, which Israel had ordered evacuated from the rest of Gaza. So-called hands-off protests held around the U.S. Saturday with a variety of grievances along the mall in Washington. Maryland Representative Jamie Raskin spoke about attempts to prevent judges from stopping President Trump's executive orders.
Let's tell MAGA what Democratic movements all over the world tell the dictators of the world: hands off the courts! Hands off the courts!
Join us for a special weekend edition of Bloomberg Surveillance this Sunday. Jonathan Farrow and Lisa Abramowitz will take you through the market turmoil and what's ahead for the trading week. Starts at 5 p.m. Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Podcasts page on YouTube. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Ed Kalegi. This is Bloomberg.